given money for restoration, people, restorative justice, I guess they call it. Yeah. So, but, so, these discussions, because they said is that, okay, they said that, I've been, I think the way they put it is that I've been, protesting and I've been, criticizing them for too long or something. I don't know. I've been working in this for 12 years, even before Pamela Dyson's book has come out. Okay,
It was 25 years you were security guard.
Yeah, from 1980, approximately 1980, until about until he died in 2004. Yeah, and that was both in Los Angeles and then here in Espanola. Okay, and I saw a lot of stuff that, I was very young. Okay, and he would tell us that, oh, I'm just protecting the auras of these. I guess I'm guilty of being, naive. Sure. At that age, whatever. But I would take him up to the estate where this Pamela lived, had a room. The Pamela Dyson who wrote the book about this Golden Cave. And
I haven't read the book. But
okay, yeah. She was the main one who initiated a lot of those accounts, and then just a floodgate. At least 100 women came out.
And there's two documentaries in the works right now.
That's what I understand.
HBO Max and another.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So I would take Yogi Bhajan up to this estate in the middle of the night. He'd just be wearing his underwear and things like that. And I just, I didn't think anything of it at the time. But it all makes sense now. It really does. And I witnessed him kicking somebody really violently. So I definitely witnessed the actual abuse. And one of my biggest things is that I found out later that he really twisted the Sikh religion. I thought I was being a good Sikh when I was part of his group and everything, but I found out later when I was in India, there from 2007 to 2009, 2 years, I met a lot of traditional Sikhs, and I started reading about Yogi Bhajan, and he's not accepted at all by traditional Sikhs, and he just used the Sikh religion to promote his Tantra yoga, which has nothing to do with Sikh. So it's just a lot of things. I was really angry. And I tried to talk to these people, without my friends. And they just refused to even listen to any criticism. And that to me, is what really, identifies it as a cult. That they won't listen to any kind of criticism, about Yogi Bhajan. So then, I've been working on this, like I said, for about 12 years, publishing YouTube videos, Facebook pages, and publishing a book, Confessions of American Sikh. And I've got my trailers down there. I couldn't park here because the Pueblo ran me off the other day, so I didn't park my trailer. But anyway, so I wrote a book, and I've been talking about this for 12 years, trying to get awareness of it. And then in 2020, Pamela Dyson's book, and that just opened up the whole thing. So
what other sorts of evidence of a fracture in this community are you seeing?
Oh, many. I've talked to people who are taking off their turbans, they're cutting their hair. So basically, I'm one of the very few, and there might be one or maybe two other people that remain Sikhs after they left Yogi Bhajan's group. Okay, so it's very disappointing to see that everybody in India they said, oh, Yogi Bhajan's doing great work. He's converting people into Sikhism, but it turns out they were just boiling him. When he fell, then they got rid of their religion, the Sikh religion. So it shows, it really discounts that argument that he was doing a lot of good.
So particularly here in Espanola, you've seen people leaving.
Oh yeah.
In the past few years, especially.
Oh yeah. There was a lady I met out here when I was protesting, and I thought she was going to come today, but she didn't. But she's met many people who left the group, and over the years, there have been many people who left the group. I knew a lot of them, and then too, ashram is a Hindu concept.
Okay.
Okay, it's not a Sikh concept at all. So and that's the other thing is Yogi Bhajan was more like a Hindu. Not against Hindus, but if you're going to be a Sikh, you're going to say you're a Sikh, you should do the Sikh code of conduct.
Yeah.
So I've been in contact with a lot of people that are fighting to correct things so that this group starts to align with the Sikh code of conduct. They do a lot of things that's outside of the traditional Sikh Mariana code of conduct. And so I'm working on all of these issues. This is one of the issues I'm working on, is to get these signs taken down. Because obviously, somebody like Yogi Bhajan, who's just been shown to be a corrupt abuser, should not have a memorial highway.
Are you concerned about any escalation from the Hacienda?
Mildly.
I'm not like foaming at the mouth for it, but I mean, this is Suzanne mentioned it, so that's why I'm wondering.
Well, I wear a handgun most everywhere I go. I didn't wear one today.
She called you an Olympian level marksman.
Yeah, I tried out for the Olympics several times. Yeah.
As far as, so I'm very familiar with this sexual abuse allegations
Right.
and the Olive Branch report.
Yeah.
And I do still write those up as allegations. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that you can't let, I mean, that doesn't mean there's any, doubt as to whether he did it, but and I talked to my editor about that, so we
Yeah.
didn't call them allegations. I think that's what most journalists have called them.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
But what about like you talked about fraud, and I
Yeah.
talked to Suzanne about and this is stuff that
Yeah.
if I have time over the weekend, I'm really planning to dive into as much as I can, but I
Yeah,
don't have
sure.
time today.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I was a real estate agent here in Espanol. This applies right here locally, in local people. I was a local real estate agent. This was back in the 90s. Okay, and I represented. I had a house listed, a really nice Hispanic couple. We lived over in Walnut Circle, and so Yogi Bhajan wanted a friend of his to buy a house nearby him. Okay, because he owns all that ranch land now. So he had this very wealthy industrialist, he's a timber magnate, lived in Vancouver. His name is Sorensen. So he sent Sorensen down. He said, buy a house and go see your Singh. He's a real estate agent. So I showed this Sorensen this house that this really nice Hispanic couple listed. I showed him all around. He said, that's nice. So then I found out he came back an hour later and strong-armed these people, really nice Hispanic couple, into signing a purchase agreement for much lower than what they were asking. It was really awful. And I talked to this, the husband, and he said they just would not leave until I signed. It was just, it was duress.
Like intimidation.
Completely. And I
in the 90s.
This was in the 90s. Okay, this was one of the things that I think it's fraud. And then what happened was I called up. I talked to the husband. I said, do not follow through with this. Do not complete on this sale. So they hired an attorney, and then Yogi Bhajan didn't hire, but he had his chancellor, this guy, Brutality, GTS. He worked for the Attorney General's office. He represented this Sorensen in this case. Okay, and they actually went after this Hispanic couple and said they had to complete this purchase agreement that they'd signed under duress. So then Yogi Bhajan, he called me up and he said, why did you do that? Why did you tell him not to go ahead? I said, we would have paid you off. And that's what he told me. I said, I have a fiduciary responsibility to these people, and plus they're really a nice Hispanic local couple. What are you trying to do? You know what I mean? He didn't care about local people. That's my experience. And I think it really bears out. I've been on the highway protesting in front of the ranch, and I've had people that work there.
Like this week.
Yeah, this week. I had one guy, he came out in his truck, and he was pulling out, and I didn't know what he was going to do, and he gives me a thumbs up with this. He was working at the ranch, Yogi Bhajan's ranch. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of animosity against Yogi Bhajan and things. I've talked to people in town in Santa Fe that say he was such an SOB. You know what I mean? When it came to negotiating and talking to people. You know what I mean? He was just awful. Anyway, I'm not saying that you know, driving a hard bargain and everything is not fraud, but certainly what I think he did with these people going around me and then saying he would have paid me off, you know, if I would have gone along with this deal to undercut these people's price of the house. It's fraudulent. It's illegal. You know what I mean? So that's just an example. You know,
Drug trafficking?
well, I wasn't involved in any of that, so I can't really speak to that. It's only what I've heard. I was involved a lot with these toner boiler rooms in Los Angeles, and I don't know if Suzanne told you about that.
What is this?
Toner boiler rooms, where they'd sell, at the time we were selling typewriter ribbons and toner cartridges for Xerox machines, okay? So,
It's a huge web of industry and nonprofits, so it's kind of difficult to
yeah, sure.
wrap your head around.
It's a huge thing, you know what I mean? This Vice documentary really just touched the surface of it, okay? But I was involved in that for quite a long time. I worked very closely with this Hardy Shiva who went to prison for 18 months. And it was all under the guidance of this Yogi Bhajan. Yogi Bhajan was very careful. He kept it at arm's length. You know, he would always deny that he was, but he was behind all of it. He instructed all of these people to do these things. The other Hardy Shiva who lives here in Espanola, we call him Hardy Shiva Senior. Okay? He was charged with FTC in what's called a field of schemes. This was back in the 1990s, okay? And Yogi Bhajan had originally sent me over to work with him. I worked with them for several years, and I couldn't bring myself to just do all this, you know, calling on the phone. Use a fake name, you tell them things that are not true, you know, like, you know, maybe don't tell them exactly that you're a normal supplier, but you certainly imply it. You know, they have an advanced person call up and get the model number of the machine. So you can call up and say, oh, I'm calling about your such and such machine, you know, so they think it's their normal supplier.
Somebody's done that to me before.
Oh yeah, it's a kind of thing. They all come out of Los Angeles and these places, you know, like that. But anyway, Yogi Bhajan was very involved in all this, and he would come in and tell us there's no karma on the telephone, okay? And you know, so it would give us license, spiritual and religious license, just to go out there and defraud people, you know, like that. And it really makes me so angry that he got me caught up in all this crap. Like, you know, I had a political science degree, you know, and I think I would have had a really good life. A college professor or teacher in high school or something like that. But he got me involved in businesses, you know, so because I thought I was doing, this spiritual right thing. I was a spiritual master. So those are the kind of things I'm really angry about. And all of the other abuses, the sexual stuff, I didn't actually witness any of that, although I had circumstantial evidence. Like I said, it would take him at night up to his estate. They call it, it's just a house. They call it an estate. But that's where this Pamela Dyson lived and things like that. He would take it up there. And he would also have me buy him aphrodisiacs. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's called a sea cucumber. And
Yes.
it's an endangered species now. And he would have me go buy those at the Chinese market in Los Angeles. And they're known as being, by the Chinese, I don't know if it's true, but Chinese look at it as an aphrodisiac.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So he would have me go buy these things. And he was supposed to be celibate. Why is he having me buy those?
He was officially celibate?
That's what he did. That's what he told me.
Oh.
Okay, it's good now. Yeah, it was almost under your head. So there are many things like that, circumstantial things, that I could talk about. And I have these drawings. You probably saw them in the Vice video.
I haven't watched it.
You've got to watch it.
I know.
Okay, so
I have a lot to do this weekend, but I've just had a really busy weekend.
yeah, and against the ashram.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that or anybody knows.
I didn't talk to him much about the Sikh community or the ashram or anything.
So he evidently was really...
I worked with him for like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
Before he sold.
Oh, before he sold it. Okay, and he's no longer...
He's no longer.
Yeah, okay. But I've talked to his son. Nice guy and everything. I didn't know Bob Trapp or anything, but I heard through the grapevine that he was against Yogi Bhajan and he was against the ashram and everything. So I don't know how that figures into things, but anyway. So
They did report on Bhajan's political connections, and I guess like campaign donations with Richardson and stuff like that. But that's all that I found, and I haven't looked like really with a fine-tooth comb through the archives of the newspaper. It's kind of difficult, but I haven't seen much else.
Right.
Particularly not in the last 2 years.
Well, I know he was really upset when they built a second story on the ashram because his house was right there, and they built that second story and completely blocked his view. I don't blame him.
That sounds like something Bob would be.
Yeah, he was definitely upset about that. But I have a lot of local stories, you know, when you have more time, you know, and it's less windy.
Would Monday be good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I say I'm going to be out there protesting. I'm planning to go out and protest. You know where that Santa Clara Peak Road is? It goes up where the motor vehicle department is, and the state police. Is that road that goes up towards the mountains?
Santa Clara Peak Road?
Yeah, Santa Clara Peak Road, and it's just past where the motor vehicle department is.
Okay.
There's a bunch of commercial office buildings up there, and the state police is on that same road. The state police is just as you get off the main road.
Okay.
You go up there. So I'm going to be parked up there with my little trailer, and it's a great place because it's off to the side. There's no parking signs there. It's in the city of Espanol, so I shouldn't have any problem parking. But I'm planning to be up there pretty much all day, and it would be nice if you can come up there, and hopefully it won't be so windy, but we can sit in the car with the air conditioning on if
that would be
and
nice.
I expect people to come by because they'll be going up and down the road to this yoga.
Oh, okay, I see.
And I want to catch them there.
Okay.
And I really like to interact with the people. You know, the president of Occult Security, I'm pretty sure it was him. He used to be the president of Occult Security, right? He came by here one day a few months ago when I was protesting. And he had a baseball cap on. I didn't recognize him. And we worked together all the time on different issues. He was a big supporter of Bill Richardson, real political. So he pulls up here and he says, "Go fuck yourself," like that. And I said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm going to call the sheriff. You're parking illegally here." And I recognized his voice and said, "Oh, dang, it's you!" And then he got really angry and he flipped me with a finger and he drove off. So I'm willing to interact with people. I want to talk to them. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid of them, you know, calling me names or whatever. You know, I don't care. I just like to discuss the issues with them and so far they just have not been willing to talk to me.
They haven't responded to me. They'll have to see what happens.
They're very, and this is indicative of a cult. Okay, they don't want to listen to criticism or outside kind of discussion. Anyway, I'm hoping if I park in that road, I'll get some people who will stop. I can talk to them, show them articles, talk to them about my experiences. Because I think a lot of the people that are going to this yoga festival, they may not know. They may not know the inside stories and things. They just heard Kundalini yoga is great. A lot of people just do the Kundalini yoga because they get hot. You know, they get really pumped up and everything like that. Sorry, my voice is going.
Oh yeah, I should probably go.
Okay.
It was nice to meet you.
Okay, I'll just. Okay, thanks, Nick.
I'll see you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Give you a call.
Okay. Oh.
Hey.
Okay. So, have you read of any of these things about these accounts of abuse?
I saw I read the woman's book.
Pamela Dice.
Yeah, her book. I saw 90 or 100 pages on Facebook.
Yeah.
I read a couple of
But the AOB report.
yeah, is that no? Down on Facebook there was a huge stories of people's abuse.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, I read a couple of them. Yes,
Okay.
and they seem legitimate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you would generally.
But what is Yogi Bhajan got to do?
Well, he created it.
Yeah, but it works.
Okay. So in what
yoga works.
Yeah, in what ways does it work for you? How do you say it works?
My life runs better.
You think it runs better?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you ever had any other kind of exposure to other kind of yogas or any kind of other kind of therapies or anything like that?
Sure.
Because you find this works for you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can say from personal experience, I was around Yogi Bhajan for 30 years and I practiced the Kundalini yoga myself. So my finding was that it got you really high, okay, because of the breath of fire and the the extreme workouts. And so my experience was that once that was kind of over, it was a temporary thing. That was my experience. Okay, so I got more involved in the Sikh religious part, and I found that later I read books about it, how Yogi Bhajan appropriated these things out of the Sikh religion and used them to promote his tantric and Kundalini yoga. Okay? And so I read a lot more, and I followed some of these people like this Philip Gislett, who's done a lot of research about the origins of Yogi Bhajan's Kundalini yoga. And what basically he found was that Yogi Bhajan made a lot of this stuff up.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure he did.
Right, okay. So,
Yeah.
so
As an appropriation of other traditions.
My
and he lied
argument
about
is-
it all.
But what I'm trying to say, and I want to go, but I'm in the middle. I'm extremely neutral. I don't know if he was an abuser or not. They say he is. I read the article. It's got nothing to do with me or his karma.
Yeah.
That's But I lost my point. And I got no issue. I was just curious why you're out here.
Yeah, so we feel strongly.
I could see that.
We're out there in this wind. We were hoping maybe the wind would be striking and blow the signs down. Anyway, but the thing is that we feel strongly that Yogi Bhajan not only abused people, but he abused people's faith, and he appropriated things from the Sikh religion, which was really inexcusable. It was a big deception. I was around him for 30 years. I thought I was following the Sikh religion, but in fact, we were following his own form of Bhajanism.
Yeah, his own. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And so, getting back to this point about how, some people like yourself, they feel like Kundalini yoga works, okay? Well, I really encourage you to see how it works in the long run. Because I've practiced
LA 714.
Okay.
Which is a very difficult kriya for 9.5 years every day, 2 hours every day. In the morning.
Uh-huh.
Now, I don't wake up anymore at 4 a.m. I get up 6. I found my own way with it.
I see.
And I find that, I don't read the literature. I don't read his books. It just doesn't talk to me.
I see.
I'm a teacher and all that shit, but I don't.
Did you do the teacher's training?
With Harry Jivan.
Oh.
I gotta go.
Let me give you can you get my phone number? I want to talk to you some more.
Okay, text me. I'll give you my number. I'll give you my number.
Here's my number. Okay, just a second.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you some more.
Sure.
Because I knew Harry Jivan. You going to the yoga festival?
Have a beautiful day to the sun.
State Road 76 as it leads up to this Highway 106. I'm very, very motivated to get these down because Yogi Bhajan now been accused by about 100 women of abuse, and it involves everything from rape to sexual attacks on them, and also he was just a big fraud. He misled all of us. I was around Yogi Bhajan for some, I should say, deceived. It was much more than misled. He really deceived us. And I was around Yogi Bhajan for some 30 years or so. I acted as his bodyguard for a lot of that time in Los Angeles. And then also here in Espanola, where I moved here in 1990, but I was with him in the early 80s. So I witnessed his corruption. He got me involved in these fraudulent telemarketing operations. They call them boiler rooms. And he specifically told me to go work for these guys who were completely corrupt. One of the guys who ran this operation, Hari Jivan, he went to prison for 18 months. And Yogi Bhajan was the puppet master behind all of these different corrupt and fraudulent businesses. There was another Hari Jivan that was charged with a field of schemes, and he was the one also that Yogi Bhajan told me to go work for him. This was in the early 80s. So he was charged in a field of schemes by the Federal Trade Commission. So I'm really angry about this, that somebody like this Yogi Bhajan, who's now been accused with incontrovertible evidence. Well, sorry, I couldn't say that word. Anyway, incontrovertible. Anyway, the evidence is overwhelming that Yogi Bhajan assaulted, abused, and generally is a corrupt individual. So there should be a highway sign or a memorial highway that's dedicated to this Yogi Bhajan. That's why I'm here, to get this sign taken down. Maybe the wind will do it for us. Maybe God will intervene. So, I think that we can say without I think we can say without a doubt that people are becoming more and more aware of the abuse of Yogi Bhajan, and they're okay. We gotta take a break here. I gotta get some water.
All right. I'm gonna.
You okay? protests, and I think I've been very successful at it. First protest I was involved in was in 1982, and I was trying to get in the U.S. Army as a Sikh. That's my religion. So the Army had made exemptions. President Truman did, in fact, make exemptions for Sikhs to be able to wear their turbans and uncut hair. Can't see it very well because the wind is blowing so hard. Anyway, so we don't cut our hair at all. We either cut our beards either. So I joined, or tried to join, the U.S. Army, and I took all the tests, passed them with flying colors, because I went to a military school, and I'm quite involved in shooting, target shooting. And so I trained actually with the U.S. Army marksmanship unit down in Fort Benning, Georgia. I was growing up as a junior. So I was really qualified to be able to be a member of the U.S. Army. So I went through the whole process of applying, and then they told me, they said, look, we're going to have to court-martial you if you actually end up taking the oath, because you won't shave your beard or take off your turban and shave your head. So I said, well, I'm not going to do that. So there was a case filed by the ACLU. They represented me in that case, and then we protested out in front of the U.S. Federal Building in Los Angeles, and that was 1982. So we had all the Sikhs in the LA area come and protest there, and it was quite successful. We got national news. We were invited to talk shows, a lot of talk shows, and morning shows, things like that. So I think it got a lot of awareness. Now this was at the time that Ronald Reagan was president, and as many of you may know, that Ronald Reagan had a lot of pressure on him from the, what would they call at that time, the moral majority, and they didn't want other religions being represented in the U.S. Army. Now, fortunately, a lot has changed since 1982. I think it was under President Obama that finally Sikhs were allowed to join the U.S. Army with their articles of faith, we call them, our beards and turbans. It was a long time in coming, because pretty much all the Western countries, like the UK and other countries in Europe and India too, they allow Sikhs to wear their articles of faith, the turban and the uncut hair. So the United States was really lacking behind, but like I said, under President Obama, it's now allowed. Now allowed for Sikhs to be able to join the U.S. Army and the other military services for that matter too. So there are many Sikhs now serving. So anyway, that was my first introduction to protesting, we'll say. Then I been involved in protests, wearing my Sikh articles of faith. So Sikhs are obligated to wear kirpan, and this is a small dagger, and it represents that we are obliged to not only defend ourselves but others if anybody attacks us or other people that can't defend themselves. So this was around 2013, I believe. I was served notice that I had to appear for jury duty. This was when I was living in California, in Yuba City. That was in Sutter County. So I was served with that notice of having to appear for jury duty. So I called the clerk there in the court who was in charge of these summons that you receive for jury duty. And I told her, look, I have to wear my kirpan. It's obligated by the Sikh faith. I said, okay, they allow Sikhs to wear kirpans in the courthouses, and so I think the United States needs to catch up with these outside the Sutter County Courthouse, and that received a lot of attention, we'll say. CBS did a report on it, made national news, and so I wasn't able to wear my kirpan in the courthouse, but as it turned out, they didn't need me for the jury duty, or maybe they just crossed me off the list. I'm not sure what they did. But anyway, I never got any more notices. So yeah, then I protested this ad. It was a Gap, it's a clothing store. And they showed in this ad, they showed a Sikh with dastar on, and then the woman was touching his dastar, or turban. We call it a dastar. It's like a crown. And he gave us this hukam, or command, to wear the dastar, and it was given to us as Sikhs like a crown. And so I felt it was really insulting and really disgraceful. And this Sikh should allow, in this ad, a sexy-looking woman to be able to touching his dastar. She had her hand on his dastar turban, and this was for this Gap ad. It was, I thought it was really shameful. The Sikh is a well-known actor, of course. Walia, I think his name is. Anyway, he's not really a full Sikh. There are many people who call themselves Sikhs, but they don't really follow the Sikh code of conduct. And I think he's one of them. Anyway, so I protested outside the Gap store down there, and it was in Davis, California. And so I know a lot of Sikhs were against me for doing that, but I felt it was really that just shows real dedication out here. We're dedicated. Even in 30-mile-an-hour winds, we're going to come out here. Protest against this bastard Yogi Bhajan. Such a creep. He's abused many, many women. I witnessed him kicking somebody around, physically kicking them. It wasn't just some, light kick or anything. It was very violent. This was about 1983 or so, something like that. And that was at that Guru Ramdas ashram, they called it. The ashram there in 1620 Bruce Road. I used to do a job where I would answer the phones there, and I was there like 24/7 a lot of the times. So I witnessed Yogi Bhajan. He would come out of his back where he lived. It was attached to where the ashram was, or it's still this way. But Yogi Bhajan would come out there into the Gurdwara there, where the city Guru Granth Sahib was kept. And he came out one day, and there was a young man there who was lying on the floor. He had some mental health problems, I know, and that his father, evidently, as I recall, had left him there with Yogi Bhajan, kind of to try to look after him. And I guess evidently he was very wealthy. De Guru Ram Das is what it's called, this ashram here that Yogi Bhajan started. And it's just right over that hill there. I got back here, and by the way, I had really no help from anybody here. They just really abandoned me over there. And so I finally got back here with the help of my father and mother and other people who were my friends, my real friends. And Waheguru, my biggest friend, helped me. And to get back here, finally, I made it across the Nepal. I escaped across through Nepal and made it back here to the United States with the grace of God and Guru. So I got back here, and I started trying to discuss and talk to my friends, what I thought were my friends here in the 3HO and this Yogi Bhajan community. I tried to talk to them about this Sikhism and Tantric Yoga and other books that I'd read about how Yogi Bhajan was just twisting the Sikh religion and was just lying to us about all of these practices that he was professing about Kundalini and Tantric Yoga, which have nothing to do with Sikh. So I tried to talk to them about it. I tried to email them with links to this book, and I was just met with a brick wall. Nobody wanted to hear criticism about Yogi Bhajan there, and I realized it's just basically a cult. It was a cult around Yogi Bhajan, and this is really indicative of cults, that they do not question the leader, and the leader can do no wrong. So this was around 2009, 2010. So after really making a diligent effort to put the word out about really the truth about Yogi Bhajan and how he had lied and how he had abused his students, I started publishing accounts by some of these former students. I started publishing them on YouTube, on Facebook, and I started really exposing Yogi Bhajan and all these people that were enabling Yogi Bhajan too. There were many people who were enabling Yogi Bhajan, like this Hari Jivan, both the Hari Jivans. There's two of them, by the way. So I started exposing them and posting things about them and about how they were enabling Yogi Bhajan. So looks like we've got some participants.
Nice.
They're willing to brave this, I'd say it's about 30 miles an hour wind and dust too. Woo!
Yeah.
No, yummy dust. Anyway. See it? Yeah. So we got that in place. Then I talked to the lady from the Mexicans. Phaedra was her name. She had to talk to her. But it's so far out. Television stations, they're so far now. It's going to be tough. I sent press release twice. Anyway,
It's hard to get people to.
yeah. But we're doing our best. I'm out here pretty much every day for a couple hours on my trailer driving down. And there's actually a better place down by the ranch. That's nice grass and trees and everything. There's actually shade from some of the trees. And it's I talked to the state police, and that's a big deal down there. Just let me park off the road. There's no parking signs. So next time I have a protest, I think I'll have it down there. And you can see Yogi Bhajan's residence from the road.
Yeah.
So there's a sign down there. So yeah. So maybe if we have time, we could drive down and I can kind of show you. But people stop there, and then you can say, yeah, he lived right there. You know what I mean? And so that's where you can see that's where a lot of the rapes and the abuses and everything took place. You know, I mean, I think that kind of brings it home.
Yeah.
You can tell it that.
Yeah, that's good.
So, but up here you're kind of away from all that down there. But the advantage to here, of course, is that you got a lot of traffic. That's one thing. But I'm not sure that it's targeted. Most of the people that are going on 84, 285, they know nothing about this. They're more down there. They're going on Highway 106. They're going to be more local people, and they're going to be a lot of them. You know, give it a thumbs up. They understand the issue. They've seen that sign. Either know which it was, or they or something. And I'll tell you, this is the funniest story. You got to get this on film.
Got it.
I was down there and with the trailer, okay, and so right there with the ranch, Bhajan's ranch, there are two big white gates that open up and people come. So there was a guy with a pickup truck and he had a bunch of work tools and everything in the back. And he was coming out, and I thought to myself, I said, you know, I wonder who he is, because in the old days, you get people to do this all for safety, service. They do it, clean the ranch, pick up things and everything. But I was thinking to myself, it's gotten so big now, and it's, I'm sure they hire people now to do all this. So this was a local guy, I saw him, and he drove out of the gate with his pickup truck, and then turned towards me, and then he picked a big smile and gives a thumbs up like this. When he saw the sign, when he saw the, Axe Yogi Bhajan sign, I am sure that a lot of these locals, they do not like Yogi Bhajan, these people here, I know that it's even when I was here, there was kind of animosity. And I think for good reason too, because they've taken over all this down here, and they keep it all locked down, they keep it all, under barbed wire walls. You can't go in there, you can't, it's very, I think, put offish, people. I don't think, I know that Yogi Bhajan, when he was alive, and I was living here, I was a real estate agent, and I was involved in a deal where these local, really nice Hispanic local people, they had listed their house with me, and it was right on, it was in a circle, right, just opposite where the dome, Yogi Bhajan's dome is, okay, and for all of you who don't know that dome, you've heard of that dome before, that's where he died, and that's where a lot of these alleged rapes and things took place. Yeah, you get a lot of people honking and giving a thumbs up. It's really great. So I was representing these local Hispanic people, and so Yogi Bhajan wanted his friend, this Swarn Singh is his name, and brought him down from Vancouver. He's very wealthy, timber background, lived in Vancouver, and so Yogi Bhajan brought this guy down, and he said, I want you to buy a house near me, okay? So Swarn Singh looked at the house of this really nice Hispanic couple, and I showed him around the house. Then he came back about an hour later by himself and strong-armed him, decided to purchase it with him at a much lower price. And the wife is in sick in bed, with cancer. It was just despicable. I couldn't get over it. So I learned, and he said, the man told me, the husband, he said, they just would not leave until I signed. You know what I mean? They just completely strong. It's just awful. You know what I mean? So then, and I'm just telling you this because this is how I saw Yogi Bhajan and his friends treat local people. It was really bad. So then I called up. I called up and I talked to the nice Hispanic couple. I told them, do not And then Yogi Bhajan called me up just after that. He said, "Why did you do that? You know, we would have paid you off." You know, I said, "I have a fiduciary responsibility to these people." You know, and that's what that was about. I think that was about in the mid '90s, something like that. And that really showed me what Yogi Bhajan was such a fucking bastard. You know, just awful. You know, just a creep. So he's not only raping these women, you know, and carrying on like this. You know, and I'm walking by that dome every single day for in the armored veil of the morning, you know, and thinking, oh, my spiritual master is meditating in there and praying and everything, and he's carrying on like this.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what makes me so angry, you know, about this whole thing. They should never have some kind of memorial sign, you know, memorial highway named after this guy. He's such a creep, you know, corrupt creep and criminal.
Well, it's always follow the money, right? This sign is follow the money, and I think that the connections he made back then financially, like, you know, greasing palms and
Yeah.
with the, what was it? He was friends with the governor or whatever, right? And got this whole thing done, this whole sign thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you know, there's been a change of power since then and everything, right? So, but you know, it should be possible. It should be possible to get this undone. It should be.
It'll take time, and you know, I've got it all the time. I'll be out here every single day. It is the last thing I do. I'm going to get this sign taken down. There's 5 of them actually. You know that. There's one over there on the 84 285. There's one down there. Then there's this one. And there's one down there, and then there's one on Highway 76. So they're all there, and it's because of this Governor Bill Richardson.
Right.
You know, they were just hand in glove.
Yeah.
Yogi Bhajan, you know, and he's just as corrupt. So, are you planning to go up tomorrow? I don't know if you want to. Just tell me how to go.
Not naturally.
Yeah, don't worry. Tonight is that dinner, you know that? Yeah, there's a dinner over there in the ashram. So I'm going to drive my trailer up and down the road. Yeah, so I just go watching the singing car. I've known them forever. He's such a, I won't say it, but he was handed to Yogi Bhajan too. Okay, let's put it that way. Okay, I sued him. Mr. Bhajan, they're hosting this dinner over there. Okay, him and his wife. They're hardcore Yogi Bhajan followers. Anyway, so I'm going to drive my travel trailer up and down that road. If my travel trailer doesn't blow away. Yes. Oh my God. Woo! Wow.
So I had an event last night
Yeah.
in Phoenix.
Yeah.
So we drove halfway
Oh, wow.
last night, and we drove the other half this morning.
Wow.
And I have another
Wow.
thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we're gonna drive back halfway tonight.
Oh,
and
you're
then
driving
halfway
back again?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's too bad because I know you got to get back and everything. But, you know, they're having that Raj Yoga festival.
Yes.
So I've got a perfect spot to park just before the pavement ends. Have you ever been up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So down there in Espanola, the spot there, kind of where the motor vehicle department is, and there's office buildings there.
Do anything?
Yeah.
Or say anything about the place?
Yeah, some portion of them are Punjabis that are hired by 3HO.
Yeah.
Like that.
His name is Nicholas. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, the first time I was out here with the trailer, I had many stories. You know Kuda Car? Have you heard of her? She sells the jewelry. She lives around here. She stopped. She was nasty to me. And said, "Oh, this is bullshit." You know, and everything. And then, oh, down there at KRI, there's some joker who works down there. I was down there yesterday, and he was pulling out at the same time. And he flipped me the finger. And another time, I was parked down there, just walking around, making sure my trailer everything was intact. And he goes, "Go fuck yourself," So there are definitely a lot of them that are very upset. I guess. They have nothing else. They've been doing this for 40 years, and their livelihood depends on it.
Yeah.
But I say, if their livelihood depends on it, then it's better they starve. I mean, and they're not going to starve. Let's face it. Not in today's, they might have to sell their house. They might have to do some things that cut back on their living lifestyle. But it's great. I think that it's better that they come to realize the truth than to live in this world of a lie. So what does it matter if you have a big house or a big car, whatever? In the end, it's not going to matter one bit. But if you live the truthful life, that's what really matters. It really does. That's why I've sacrificed a lot to be able to live here and to
get in their face.
Yeah, to be here and protest and stuff. I could be cozy, sitting at the pool in California, the house we had in California, but I chose to sell it and move out here in this windy desert.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah, I think so. I just really feel it's a calling,
Yes.
Waheguru has called me to do this job, make people aware of this corruption and all of this.
So forth.
Yeah.
And nobody kind of heard it, and then it comes out, oh, well, it's sort of like a Me Too aspect, and it turns into a sexual abuse aspect. All of a sudden, everybody is mad at him now, which makes it about the man, but not about the larger picture, right?
Oh, yeah.
So now you've got like Yogi T, and they're like, I looked at the Wayback Machine online, and they removed they used to have all these references to, oh, Yogi Bhajan came and brought this recipe, blah, blah, blah. Now all that's been expunged. You go to the Yogi T website, and they don't mention him a single time. They just say, oh, this is a recipe for tea.
You got it on the Wayback Machine?
It's on the Wayback Machine.
Oh, it's on the Wayback
Yeah, that's how I compared it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, great.
So, but I'm saying it's there. But my point is that most people won't go that deep.
Yeah, sure.
And so they're expunging, even on the 3HO website, they've expunged his name.
Yeah.
And so now, in a certain way, that's actually even worse, because now the teachings are almost being validated because they've become now of mysterious origin. Like, it's almost like, oh yeah, no, this is just Sikhism. It's not, by taking out him, they're still teaching the same stuff, and now it's much harder to kind of say, here's the person who made this up, because they've removed the linkage.
Yeah.
I think that's an unintended side effect.
Well, they're doing everything they can to cover all this up. But, as the teachings are Yogi Bhajan, and Yogi Bhajan is the teachings. There's no way to separate them. Because
to us, but to a newcomer.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's why it's our job to make people aware. And I've got so many links. If people come up like they've done, I text them the links to these different articles. There was that 4-part article that was written. I don't remember his name, but he has a PhD, and he wrote a 4-part article about YB, and it's really, really good. It tells how Kundalini Yoga is YB, and YB is Kundalini Yoga. You can't separate them, because you think about it logically. He made these things up. He made these kriyas up, meditation. What makes you think that it's going to make you other than what he was like? You know what I mean? Exactly. So you wouldn't take counseling. You wouldn't take marriage counseling from a rapist. It's the same thing. I just can't get it through. What it is people, they get high from Kundalini Yoga. you know, they're doing this breath of fire.
Yeah.
My wife's a psychiatrist, and she says you're gonna get a rush if you do any kind of heavy physical exercise. There's endorphins in the brain that get released. Okay, it's like an opiate, you know, it's like a natural opiate, and that's exactly what happens when you do this breath of fire. When you do all these, you know, high energy kind of, you know, exercises and stuff.
Yeah.
It's no different than, you know, if you're running or anything else.
Right.
You know. So people, they're doing that. They say, "Oh, I'm getting high." You know, I don't care what he says. You know what I mean? But you got to think of the long-term effects. The long-term effects. You know, look at what I say is look at these people that have been doing Kundalini yoga for 40 or 50 years, like Mukar. She is whacked out. You know, I mean, she's pointing at Jupiter and saying, "I want to get the energy from Jupiter." You know, and all these things like that. You don't listen to her. I met her in person now. She is just like space. She's a space cadet. You know what I mean? You know, she's completely out there. And that's what I think, you know, it turns these people into when they do this Kundalini constantly day in and day out. Like that. And Yogi Bhajan would get people really charged up, then he would lay them out. And the KY teachers do the same thing now. You know, they lay them out on the ground so they're just completely, you know, blasted, you know, from this heavy exercise, and they do this gong thing like this, and they're subliminally putting these subliminal messages to them, you know, join this cult, join this cult, join this cult, you know, like that. So I think it's an agenda, it's a neuro-linguistic programming agenda that Yogi Bhajan did, and he's installed this in all these KY teachers. You know what I mean? I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think it has a logical base. You know,
all kind of they all sort of ultimately do the same stuff, right? I mean, and you know, even I think, you know, one thing that I keep seeing is people pushing back against the idea of it being a cult, and that's especially confusing because what does a person think a cult is? If not something like this, where you have one person's teachings that are taken above everything else. And it's all, I usually go to Waco. What was David Koresh? The Branch Davidians believed they were Christians. Only just because you say that you're a major religion does not make you that major religion. Like you know, he was. They thought they were Christians, and oh, by the way, David Koresh just happens to also be Jesus. By the way, important detail.
Yeah.
I see Yogi Bhajan's approach is very similar to that.
They would call him a spiritual teacher, but he was a guru in all but name.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
That's what I was getting
You know,
at.
they touch his, exactly. They touch his feet. You know, I need to touch his feet a lot. You know what I mean? But we didn't know. We were naive. You know, we thought this is how you treat, you know, a quote spiritual teacher. You know, but when I went to India, and I was there for 2 years. There are 10,000 Yogi Bhajans over there. You know, it's just they're everywhere. My wife said, she said, yeah, there's Babas on every corner.
Right.
You know, and they're telling you, oh, I can save you. I can, you know, give you all that. I can give you a child. I can give you wealth. I can give you this and that. It's exactly the way that, you know, SOB Yogi Bhajan was. You know.
It's you know, that's one thing that makes it so tough. There's this divide. You know, obviously Yogi Bhajan created a divide partly by taking advantage, I think, of language, the language barrier that especially existed pre-internet, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And so the thing is, you can easily dispel a lot of his teachings by just asking a Punjabi Sikh some of these basic things. They'd be like, that's ridiculous. It's, of course that's not right.
Yeah.
But now, if you go to Punjab and try to make people get upset about this, there's what you just said, which is, well, what, there's like 10,000 guys doing that, who cares?
Right.
And also, it doesn't seem like there's a good analog for the concept of a cult, the same way that we perceive it in America and all the harm that they do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they might just see people as like mildly misguided or something, but the idea of a cult as its own spin-off religion that becomes a machine and becomes a destructive entity, I don't think they really have that or an analog for that. So it's very difficult in Punjab to get people upset or get them to understand what the problem is.
Yeah. You went there as well?
Oh yeah. Now, just to be clear, I am not a Sikh. I'm an atheist. I just want to make sure that that's clear and understood, but I consider myself an ally.
I see.
I'm a Sikh ally. But yeah, I mean, I'm also a smart enough person to know a cult when I see one.
Well, I think in India, Punjab, they have so many other issues. They're so more oppressive. And I really think that, like you said, they know about all this. They're wise to these Babas and all these people who call themselves gurus and things like that. It's not unusual there. It's unusual. For us, we were growing up in the 1970s and you know, we just didn't know better, you know. I read autobiography of a yogi and I thought this is the way you treated somebody who was holy, you know, supposed to be holy and wearing white robes and, you know, all this stuff like this, you know. I was so taken in. It was just so sad, you know. I think back, I could have, Yogi Bhajan sent me to these criminal, you know, boiler rooms, toner boiler rooms and stuff, telemarketing rooms and stuff. And he says, go do that. How are you going to make any money? Because I told him, I said, I want to do counseling, you know, because I just gotten some certifications in counseling and I just finished up at the University of Oregon up there. I got trained at this NLP, you know, through counseling and stuff. And he said to me, he said, how are you going to make any money? He said, go over there and see Hari Jivan. Go work the phones. You know what I mean? I said, okay. You know, I said, okay, sir. You know, I guess that's what I need to do because, you know, he certainly, you know, looks like he's holy, and I didn't know any better, you know. And so I went over there, and boy, was I had an eye opener, that's for sure. But I'd had some background in sales. My dad was involved in sales for all of his life, and he'd grown up selling mobile homes and stuff. But so I'd had some experience with sales. So it wasn't completely foreign to me. And so I thought, well, you know, we can do a little shady stuff as long as it's making money for the Dharma, you know, for Yogi Bhajan's group. You know, that was the rationalization. Right. You know, we're making money for them, you know. And so the way that money was spent, we would go to these lunches up at La Scala, and you know, it was like a whole caravan of people would go up there, and Yogi Bhajan, they would drop thousands of dollars for lunch, and you know, he would have all these dignitaries and people with him, and it would just be like a sea of white robes going up Beverly Drive. You know, I can remember that. And so Hari Jivan is the one who paid for all these lunches. You know, thousands. Back in the 80s, that was a lot of money, you know, for a lunch. You know, for sure. Then we go to the movies, and then we go shopping. We go shopping at Jerry's there in Beverly Hills. There was a jewelry store there, and he'd spend thousands on watches and jewelry and everything, you know, like that. So that's how a lot of the money was being spent. You know, it wasn't being spent for, how do you call it, noble endeavors. Right. You know, I saw a lot of the money being spent on his fancy lunches, clothes, jewelry, houses, fur coats. Yeah, there you go. I love the fur coats. Fur coats and everything like that. Ivory. That, you know, I have a story. When we were at the LA Gem Show. Okay, this was back in the 80s, and it was just before they made ivory illegal to buy or sell. So Yogi Bhajan was buying up as much as he could. It's all down there at the ranch. It's all down there at the ranch. I've seen pictures of it. So anyway, you know, he said they I guess it ran out of money or something. I don't know. Then he said buy this ivory chess set for me, you know. And so I got out my American Express card. I didn't have any money then, you know, but I got, you know, American Express. You can spend money you don't have as much as you want, you know, really. So I didn't have that kind of money. I remember it was about $1,500, you know. Yeah. So anyway, just see what Hi. Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. If you can, let me give you a flyer.
face square or whatever, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
oh wow,
Yeah.
there's so, I mean, like, yeah,
But they're,
I've not seen so many Sikhs in my life.
but keep in mind, they're not real Sikhs. They're Yogi
yeah,
Bhajan. They're
okay.
Yogi Bhajans. They don't follow traditional Sikhism
Yeah,
for the most part.
and then
But
yeah,
that was the lie that Yogi Bhajan spread. You know, that we were Sikhs and that we were better than the Sikhs in India, in the Punjab. That's what he professed. You know, we've done a better job than they had done, which is a real insult to regular Sikhs. It's just awful.
So, you know, one thing that I'm surprised nobody talks about really with Yogi Bhajan, because I would think more people would be upset about it, but they're not, is his thing about how he appropriated Native American religion and tried to use Native American religion to justify that horrible property where they do solstice and all that.
Can you hold this? I just want to fix it. Yeah.
I mean, you would think people would get at least a little upset about that,
Yeah.
but nobody really mentions it.
Yeah.
I mean, saying that the native, all the various indigenous peoples all came and were coming to that place and were like proclaiming him some kind of prophet or something like that, whatever it was, all that nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, that should be offending some people, I think.
You'd think so.
Yeah. And yet I'm disappointed.